what do you think of? Maybe it's energy that we can use again, or maybe you're thinking about solar energy. Well, both of these answers are correct. Renewable energy is energy from a source that is not depleted when used, such as wind or solar power, meaning that when we use solar energy, the amount we have never goes down. We will always have sunlight, wind, water, and heat. Since this is true, we can never run out of it.
You would probably assume that majority of people on Earth have or use some source of energy. Well, only around 30% of all people on Earth have some sort of power. So if there are 7.422 billion people, that means only 2,232,600,000 people have power. So what would happen if we just gave power to half of those 5 billion people without it?
This is what we mainly focused on when we talked about places. We asked ourselves, what would happen to our future if all those people had technology? How would education change? And how would our daily lives change?
Our research shows that with renewable energy, we could supply 4.6 million homes with power. Although that seems very little compared to the total number, we are still improving how we can capture this energy. Just imagine all the possibilities that could come true if we could perfect our ways and give more people more chances to present their ideas to the world.
One of the biggest things to know is where renewable energy is actually being used the most around the world. Renewable energy is mainly being used in China. China is the leading country in terms of how fast they are implementing sustainable technology at a really large scale. Also, China has more manufacturing capacity for renewable energy, primarily solar, than any country in the world.
Over half the electricity in the United States comes from coal. Coal is the biggest source of carbon that goes into the atmosphere, which then causes pollution. But with using renewable energy, living conditions will improve, cleaner energy means cleaner food, and mental health has gone up as well.
To further our understanding of where renewable energy comes from, we have asked a local expert to share his knowledge on the subject. Today we have Mr. Ewing here with us to give us further insight on the factors that can affect renewable energy. So what factors can affect what renewable energy source we use in each region?
Well, a lot of it has to do with geography. You can't use wind power where you don't have wind. You can't build dams where you don't have a river with moving water. Those are two very popular. Solar energy, you got to have the sun out, so you can only use solar energy where you're going to have a lot of sunlight. So geographically, that's probably your most limiting factor. Of course, you need to have the technology and the education that goes with it, but that's the leading factor, I would say.
Why do you think China is one of the world's leading producers of solar energy, but they have one of the highest pollution rates?
Well, China is one of the most populated countries in the world. So even though they're using a lot of solar energy, they're also burning a lot of coal and other fossil fuels. So they can be the leaders in renewable energy while also still being the leader in burning fossil fuels as well. They have over 1 billion people in their country. They're going through their industrial revolution. A lot of things are being manufactured over there, and that takes a lot of energy. The world's largest dam is in China. I showed you all that in Act 1, you might remember. So they're doing a lot of good things as far as trying to find other sources of energy, but they still have a big demand. So they're going to continue to burn coal until they can find other ways to get that done.
Do you think more countries will be on board with a full transition to renewable energy?
That's complicated. In the end, it comes down to money. So when you need electricity and you have coal sitting in your backyard, it's cheap, it's available, most countries are going to use that. Your countries like the United States and China and Russia, we have a lot of extra money. So we have the money to invest in technology and research to develop those renewable sources of energy. But to say that some of your poorer countries in the world are going to be able to do that, I'm not sure they can, at least not at this point. So I think money is always going to be the big factor. Can you afford to pay more for, like GMOs? A lot of people are saying we don't want to have genetically modified foods, so they're willing to eat and drink non-GMO foods, but they're paying more money for that. So if we go to renewable sources of energy, which might be good for the environment, it may also make our electric bills higher. It may also make our water bill higher. So not every country is going to be prepared to do that. So I think it's a combination of, the natural resources that are available there, the education and technology. If you took a solar panel over, to some third world country, they may not even know what it is, much less how to use that. You've got to have an electrical grid that can transfer from, a coal plant to a natural gas plant to a nuclear plant to a wind farm. You've got to be able to switch that all around and have a complicated grid. Most countries in the world can't do that. The United States can, but not many others.
Well, thank you for
You're
your
very
time.
welcome.
Did you know 1 hour of sunlight hitting the earth is equal to all the energy that every person on the planet consumes in a whole year? Solar energy has been growing about 50% a year. With this, it's going to be an investment of opportunities, business opportunities, and more jobs. The impact with using renewable energy is outstanding if you were asking me. This just opens up the world to a whole new, healthier, and better environment. Could you imagine what renewable energy would do to global warming?
To get further insight on the impact of renewable energy, we've asked a local expert to give more insight. Today we have Mr. Casey Page. He's our specialist on renewable energy, and he'll be answering a couple questions for us. Your first question: is it worth spending so much money on this research?
Yeah, it's gotta be. I mean, fossil fuels can't last forever. I know there's a lot of debate about renewable energy, but it's gotta be worth it because populations continue to grow, energy usage is going up. Every generation uses more energy than the generation of the past, so I think it's gotta be worth it.
If we proceed with the rollout of renewable energy, how will the fossil fuel industry respond?
They probably won't like it. I'm sure there are some companies that double dip into renewable and non-renewable energy, but it seems like it's a big competition, and fossil fuel companies do not like renewable energy companies. And I mean, it's taken away from their business, so I can see why.
If you think we go to renewable energy, how long until you think the world will come back to fossil fuels if we ever do?
See, I don't know if we ever would, if we ever went to renewable, because kind of renewable is self-sustaining a lot. It can't go away because it's coming free once you build infrastructure. So I think once the push goes towards it, I don't think it'll ever come back. And I guess you could probably look up some stuff about countries like Germany and Iceland that do pretty much all renewable energy now, and you could see if they've gone back at all. But I guess there might be some advantages. It depends on like battery technology for cars and stuff, if it ever advances to where we could move away from petroleum. But as of right now, I see that battery getting better and not having to use petroleum products anymore.
And last question, how will it affect our economy as a country?
And see, this is one thing, I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about. I know that there's a lot of pushback from coal industry and other fossil fuels because they claim that renewable energy is not a great job supplier, because it's a big jump at first when you build the solar panels and or whatever, the windmills, turbines, and then the jobs kind of go away because it takes very few people to continue the upkeep on it. So I know that if that is true, then that would hurt the job market some, because I know like Eastern Kentucky, they depend a lot on the coal, and so you might take away their jobs. But I don't know enough about it to know if there's still a lot of jobs in the renewable part of it. So that one, I honestly don't know enough about. But I know that there are conflicting sides. Like I've always heard it takes away all the jobs, but I've also heard renewable energy people saying actually it does help the economy because we're spending less money on this. We're not worrying about some health issues that come with non-renewable energies. So I think there's definitely a balancing act to it.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, and it's a pleasure interviewing you.
Thank you.
The primary part of this documentary were to show you and teach you what it would be like if the world were to switch to renewable energy. It also gave many important facts on the why renewable energy is a better and cleaner choice. So next time you ask yourself what is renewable energy, you need to be asking, why not renewable energy?